Hey fellas, well, nephew who is lying down, he's going back home I think later tonight, so with that in mind, I thought I would give you my thoughts on Sonic Class Ultimate 1 week later. I've been playing it for most of that time since launch, and well, let's just say it's been a very interesting week, especially if you're playing it on the Switch. I mean, I did see the Digital Foundry video, which did verify some of the issues. Some of the issues, yes, were in the experience with people trying to emulate the game, but a lot of them were also found on native hardware and software. They're first covered in the digital deluxe version, but also like in the actual physical game card and discs. So, I mean, that's not. But still, now that the Switch version of the release is currently on version 1.0.4. Gonna be I not since it was just live this morning. I'm gonna be basing most of my things on that. So here we go. So the game, much like its senior on the original Wii, and to some extent, and another version that came out at the same time on the Nintendo DS, see Sonic and his best friend Tails in their latest another attempt to stop Dr. Eggman from enslaving Planet Wisp and a race of alien creatures that are known as Wisps as well, which can imbue Sonic with all manner of powers, from giving him a speed boost to a to turning him into a drill or a rocket ship, and I definitely remember playing and enjoying the versions they released on the Wii and the DS in 2010. The DS version was developed by Dimps, I believe, and was on the same platform as like the Sonic Rush games, which are pretty decent. And the console version was based around the day stages of Sonic Unleashed, which were the most well-received parts of that game. But unlike the action-heavy sections of the night stage, which had this big lumbering werehog, the whips are much simpler addition to gameplay to shake up the traditions while still respecting them. That's basically the design philosophy I tend to operate with for this series in particular, to try that fine line between tradition and innovation is just to do less. Less is more. I think typically the ones tend to work best for the series will tend to complement and Sonic's character as opposed to clashing with it. That's and that's it. I am liking something unlockable, a whole swag, like being able to get different cosmetics. I especially like the logos, not just from the history of the franchise and Sega in general, but from other series. Definitely kind of neat how you can have the emblems of like different consoles in the past. And I'm still compiling a list for a future video about Sega series I'd like to see revived in this manner. And thankfully, the epileptic glitch has been patched out with this update. So, oh, but if you are not willing to wait for more updates or just some more egregious bugs and problems and want your money back, I'm not going to hold that against you, as I stated before. It took actually quite a while to get Cyberpunk into a more stable state in the copy I have. I'm definitely going to have to close more space on my hard drive for whenever version 1.4 of that game drops. So there's that. I wasn't even aware that Blind Squirrel Games was involved with this remaster until fairly recently. On one hand, they actually managed to pull off like the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is a remaster of the first three games, and includes all the DLC from the first three games as well. That turned out alright. On the other, they were responsible for the Switch port WWE 2K18, which was already not a great game on its own, but the Switch port of that one was really bad. I mean, and that's kind of someone who's not the biggest wrestling fan either. I mean, admittedly, me, I'm not the biggest this one that on as graphical guy that puts that on top priority. Yeah, I can appreciate hey, it's like this one that done well for the most part. But as someone who still plays the earlier 3D installments as well as 8-bit and 16-bit entries, heck, I still have the original version on Wii, which is actually one of the more graphically impressive titles when it was first released. I mean, for being put on an underpowered system compared to the PS3 and the 360, and even though the Switch is more powerful in that system, while not being quite as beefy as the PS4, Xbox One, some of the more egregious as graphical issues and the load times, those are definitely things that could potentially be addressed in future updates. I'll definitely, when those like that crops up, I usually tend not to be hostile towards developers, just let them know pretty matter of factly what's going on. And also make sure to keep the game as well as my console firmware up to date, trying to minimize any potential risks. I mean, so. And the soundtrack is still pretty catchy. I mean, it's obviously different mix than the original game was, and again, yeah, I think the sound setups on most newer displays are different, and the sound capabilities of newer consoles are definitely different than the Wii was. I mean, I know I keep bringing that up a lot, but that's why I've said this before and it bears saying again, and you cannot simply port a game to different hardware without accounting for a difference in that hardware. I mean, I grew up in a time when as arcades were slowly but surely making way for consoles that sometimes you had to make some drawbacks from porting an arcade game to an 8-bit or 16-bit system where most of the time they didn't do a straight port. They cut as close as they could while also making a game around the different hardware. That's why so many Super Nintendo Genesis ports of arcade rail shooters were like T2 Revolution X that I did a whole video on were noticeably different than the arcade version, but still pretty fun to consider. I mean, so I'll definitely keep addressing this in future updates. So won't be only Sonic game I'm doing a video on. It's 30th anniversary and definitely going to be covering both games from the classic era, which is basically what I define as when Sega was still making systems on their own, and the modern era, which for sake of argument I'm defining as games after they shifted the focus to software instead, and the process ended up making peace with former rivals to Nintendo, and Sony, and to an extent Microsoft as well. I mean, since even at the time, growing up in the time when they were at each other's throats, I tended to skew a bit more towards diplomacy than war among consoles. I mean, it's like I had the Genesis at my house. I mean, sometimes friends had a Super Nintendo. Part of the reason why I came to retroactively appreciate that console, in hindsight, I can tell by the posters I got hung up in here. I'm gonna talk about my Sith poster. I mean, they're right there. So there's that. They're kind of all over the place there. Since anyway, that's what I got to say for now. We're gonna work on getting like a flu shot in the near future, but I'm still going to have my next what if vlog to you guys tomorrow, looking for the next scenario, and I will definitely talk to y'all later.